this accusation that President Trump has some sort of financial tie to the drug hydroxychloroquine. Mika Brzezinski of the Morning Joe Show made that assertion.
Dr. Fauci wasn't allowed to talk about what he feels is important to say about this drug that the president keeps pushing. A lot of people would say, follow the money. There's got to be some sort of financial tie to someone somewhere.
A lot of people would say, follow the money. You wouldn't say it, but a lot of people would say it. Why don't you just say, I want to know if he's got a financial tie?
People would say, follow the money. There's
a lot of people would say, some would say, not me, but others would say.
Got to be some sort of financial tie to someone somewhere that
Because after all, President Trump is a grifter. The reason he became president was to enhance his brand name, to make more money. That's why he became president, so people can call him a Nazi and a fascist and a racist and a homophobe and a xenophobe, because he wanted to make more money.
The president pushing this repeatedly, but more importantly, he had Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, which most people, I think we can universally agree, are trying to slow the spread, or trying to contain this virus, or trying to save American lives.
And Trump, of course, wants to destroy American lives. He wants the virus to spread more because
we are looking at our worst week yet ahead.
And Dr. Seth Meyers also made the same assertion.
We've been calling Trump a snake oil salesman for years, and now he's literally standing at a podium trying to sell us a miracle cure. They call it hydroxychloroquine. And let me tell you, folks, it's a genuine all-purpose miracle cure. Hey, you, sir, you look like you want to say something. Yes, I tried it, and both my acne and my coronavirus went away. And you and I have never met, sir. So there you have it, folks. There you have it. What have you got to lose? By the way, you know Trump and his buddies own stock in hydroxychloroquine because it's a 6-syllable word, and he didn't stumble on it once.
Sonny Hostin, one of the regulars on The View.
What's interesting is that Dr. Fauci has been very clear, and he said that this drug, there's only very anecdotal evidence that it can be helpful.
I thought you guys just said he shut off Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci wasn't given an opportunity to respond. Now you're saying he did respond.
Very anecdotal evidence that it can be helpful with COVID.
No. Let's start over again. No, wait. I thought you guys just said Dr. Fauci was shut up when he started to give his opinion of hydroxychloroquine, and now you're saying he gave his opinion?
What's interesting is that Dr. Fauci has been very clear, and he said that this drug, there's only very anecdotal evidence that it can be helpful.
Can I just ask you guys something, all you out there? Do you get your medical advice from Donald Trump? Or do you get your medical advice from your own doctors and other people in the healthcare business? So what's the problem here? President Trump suggests that it might have some promise. That's all he ever said. Never called it a miracle cure. Never called it a silver bullet. And he also always qualifies everything by saying, I'm not a doctor. That's what your doctor is for. Crying out loud.
What's interesting is that Dr. Fauci has been very clear, and he said that this drug, there's only very anecdotal evidence that it can be helpful.
Only very anecdotal, not just anecdotal, very anecdotal, she says.
With COVID-19, the FDA has not approved it for treatment with COVID-19.
Yeah.
And
actually, the FDA did. In a letter to the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, the chief scientist for the FDA, Denise Hinton, wrote a letter dated March 28, year of our Lord 2020. May I read you part of it? Thank you. Quote, based on the totality of scientific evidence available to the FDA, it is reasonable to believe that chloroquine phosphate and hydroxychloroquine sulfate may be effective in treating COVID-19, and that when used under conditions described in this emergency authorization, the known and potential benefits of chloroquine phosphate and hydroxychloroquine sulfate when used to treat COVID-19 outweigh the known and potential risk of such products. End of quote.
Concern is if the United States is stockpiling this medication, those that need it to treat, diseases like lupus. I have a very good friend that has lupus who cannot now find this medication that treats her lupus. That is a significant problem. I want to know, why is the president so convinced that this is the medication that needs to be stockpiled? What is in it for him? And let's face it, there's always something in it for this president when he wants to tout something. And so
there's always something in it for this president when he wants to tout something. Is there a vaccine for Trump derangement syndrome?
For this president when he wants to tout something. And so I'm very uncomfortable with this newfound love of hydroxychloroquine. I just don't understand it, especially when the experts are saying that it's not even really approved for treatment.
And speaking of the experts, here's Dr. Hazeltine, a former Harvard Medical School professor, who says it's irresponsible to promote this drug.
That is nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense. And in any situation, there are always going to be people who promote one kind of quack cure or another, and there are Lazarus effects. In every epidemic I've ever looked at, it's always the case. Let me just repeat. We know that at very best, this drug will have a very mild effect on changing the course of the disease, if it has any effect at all. That is what the data has shown so far, and I am convinced that that's what further studies will show. And it's not without adverse consequence. It is irresponsible to promote this drug at this time.
This is Dr. Anthony Cardillo. He is an emergency room doctor, went to USC for medical school, been practicing for 20 years.
Cases of coronavirus infections continue. We're hearing a lot about so-called surges at hospitals, but it's not necessarily what you might think. Dr. Anthony Cardillo, fighting on the front lines in the ER and as the CEO of Mend Urgent Care, joins us now live via Skype. Doctor, can we talk about that surge? Because it certainly sounds pretty scary.
Certainly. So the surge doesn't imply that we're going to have a tsunami of cases coming into the hospital system. Okay, that's not the surge. The surge is just a slow rising of the tide, so to speak, to the point at which it overflows the dam. And so you can imagine we have a steady stream of patients coming into the hospital right now. All of the hospitals nationwide are filling up, filling up, filling up. The amount of time it takes to manage these COVID patients is longer in duration. And so therefore, as people continue to come in, we eventually fill the entire hospital system. At that point is when we reach the surge. When all of the ventilators are used up, when every hospital bed is occupied, when every hospital bed is now acting as an ICU bed, at that point, when people are still coming in the front door of the hospital, that's the surge. Because at that point, we have no more resources available. So everyone is working really diligently to figure out how to decrease the volume in the hospital now.
And he will then proceed to tell us he has been using hydroxychloroquine with great deal of success. He prescribed it to his patients. I'm Larry